County. Allow us to proceed with honesty and integrity. Only you know the inward intentions of our hearts, and may we abide by your grace and mercy. We are blessed to live in a great nation with freedoms afforded to us by the sacrifices of others. May we continue to thank you for all our blessings, even the small ones. Those are the ones that may have the greatest impact on the citizens of Greene County. May we love our neighbors as God has loved us. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stated, we need to become a nation that one day we live in a nation where we are not judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. Remember to support our neighbors without putting yourself in the light. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Fellow commissioners, you have the proposed agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a need for any change to the proposed agenda?
Move to approve the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously. We have the consent agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a need for any change to the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I think on your desk you have some corrected minutes.
Yes, ma'am. And those, I have inserted those. We all have corrected minutes.
Move to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman, with the corrected minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the insertion of the amended minutes from the last meeting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye. 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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Do we have anyone for public comments? Okay. We'll go to the presentations. Ms. Morgan.
Well, good evening. Good evening, Chairman Heath and Commissioners. Thank you so much for having me here tonight to present to you for your consideration the renewal of the regional agreement. However, before I begin, I would like to share the good news that the Neuse Regional Libraries won 3 out of the 5 North Carolina Public Library Director Association State Library Awards for medium-sized libraries that included Service Innovation Award for the Wi-Fi for All project, Programming Award for Coming Together, a community celebration, and a Public Relations of the Year Award for I Love My Library campaign, where Greene County community members shared stories of their love of the Greene County Public Library and its direct positive impact on their lives. As you can imagine, we are very excited to be recognized for our innovative work to help the digital divide and connect our communities in relevant and meaningful ways. Thank you for your continued support of the Greene County Public Library. So without further ado, I do present to you for your consideration the renewal of the regional agreement. The regional agreement is a 10-year collaborative agreement between the City of Kinston, Lenoir, Jones, and Greene counties that acts as partners to provide library services in a fiscally conscious manner. More so, and I hope you agree, the Neuse Regional Libraries are stronger because as a region, we provide innovative and relevant programming and services to benefit all of our community members. The regional agreement is very similar to the previous agreement with a couple of slight changes that I will explain. So if you look at your packet, what we have added in red just for your information, and so we have added to do business as the Neuse Regional Libraries because we do utilize that as our name. We did, of course, update our mission statement, and then the new regional agreement would be from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2032. In addition to that, under 2 purpose statement, we did add General Statute 07 NCAC 0210301, which really defines how the regional library is organized and how the board members act in order to carry out those duties. And that was just left out previously, so we wanted to add that. On the second page, and this does include for the Greene County Public Library, we did make an adjustment for better clarification. As you all, the commissioners, you select those who serve on the Greene County Public Library Board. 3 of those members then serve on the Neuse Regional Library Board. And so just to clarify, normally the local library board selects those 3 members who serve on the Neuse Regional Library Board. So we just wanted to make that clarification in case there was any confusion. And then on page 3, we left out the word "the," so we made that correction. And then on your last page, this was a recommendation from the state library, and that really does, on page 6, really just states that at the end of the 10-year agreement, that as a regional library, we would come before the county commissioners and give them the opportunity to make any adjustments to the agreement as what you have before you. And so I put this before you for your consideration, and then I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
You've heard the presentation. Do we have any questions?
How many members do we have in that board?
For the Greene County Public Library Board, we have 6 members.
6 members. So their terms are how long?
6 years
6 years,
each,
okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye. 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 Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, dear.
April, can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. Can you see me?
I can see you. It's all you.
All right, let me share my screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sounds like we're ready to go.
Yeah, that's my copy.
You guys ready?
Oh, okay. I thought I knew I had it in there 'cause I had read it. Oh, there we go.
Are we ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, good evening. It's hard when I can't see you guys. It's hard for me to tell what's going on. But good evening. It's my pleasure to be here. I am April Adams. I am the partner with Cherry Becker that signed your audit and helps conduct it. I am here to give you the results of the June 30th, 2021 financial statement audit. Okay. So what I'd like to cover with you tonight is just to briefly remind you of the role of the external auditor. I'd like to just talk with you a little bit about what we do with internal controls and how we report on those. I'd like to identify the significant audit areas that were a part of the audit, as well as identify the significant major single audit programs. And I'll give you the results of the audit, and then I've got a couple of highlights that I pulled out from the financial statements themselves, and then I'll do a quick summary of what you should take away, and then I'll be glad to take any questions or comments. Okay, so the role of the external auditor. We perform your audit in accordance with 2 sets of auditing standards. The first set of auditing standards is just the generally accepted auditing standards in the United States. So any audit that gets performed in accordance in the United States, whether you're a government or a company or any type of entity, the audits are conducted under those standards. And we add the second set of standards because you're a government entity, and those are the government auditing standards. And what those standards require us to do is to plan and perform your audit to obtain reasonable assurance that your financial statements are free from material misstatement. And I'm sure you're wondering, well, what does that really mean? It just means that we perform what we call a risk-based audit. And so we focus in, take a look at your financial statements, and we focus in on where we think your financial statements are most susceptible to being materially misstated. And then we tailor our procedures to that. So that also means, on the flip side, that we don't come in and test every single transaction that happened throughout the year. Once we've performed all of our procedures, we are required under those standards to express opinions. And so because we have two sets of auditing standards, we issue an opinion for each set of auditing standards. And then there's two more opinions. So a total of 4 opinions that we issue. The last 2 are related to the federal and state dollars that the county expends. And so we test for compliance requirements on those. And then finally, the audit standards require us to communicate certain things to you as a board. And so we do that in 2 ways. We do that in a letter that comes with your financial statements, as well as this presentation tonight. And so the types of things that we're required to communicate with you are identifying significant changes in accounting policies that may have happened throughout the year. We identify the significant estimates that exist within your financial statements. And then lastly, then these are just the most important things from that letter, but lastly, we would inform you of any journal entries that came about as a result of the audit. Okay, so for internal controls, our opinions aren't covering internal controls, but we are required to do quite a bit of work of internal controls and report if we find any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses as a result of those review and procedures. And so I just wanted to kind of give you the background on what we are doing with internal controls to where we're identifying if any of those significant deficiencies or material weaknesses exist. And so what we do is we identify all the significant transaction cycles of all the financial information for the county. And so if you think about how those tend to be, how does the county receive cash? How does the county disperse cash? Payroll, how is it paid? And then lastly, the last cycle is how does the county collect all of the financial information in the finance system and get it out to that financial report of the financial statements in the end. And so what we do is we get all of the policies and procedures related to all that. We obtain an understanding of that and then walk through one transaction of each of the cycles from its initiation and looking at how it gets reported or recorded in the system and then ultimately reported in your financial statement. Then from there, we decide, hey, does it make more sense to actually test a sample of these controls and rely upon them as a part of our assurance on the financial statement? And so we do that for on a rotational basis for cash disbursements and payroll. And then we also are testing internal controls for compliance. And so you'll see some results from that coming out later on in the presentation. And then the audit standards also ask us to look at certain things for internal controls around journal entries. And so what we do for that is we get all the journal entries that happen throughout the year. And then we mine that data and looking for unusual transactions. We actually pull those transactions, look for the supporting documentation, look at the journal entry, make sure that the accounts that were used make sense based on what the purpose of the journal entry is. And then looking for proper approval of all the journal entries as well. And then finally, we look at controls around the information system, so or the finance system. And so we do a questionnaire and looking at just the general computer controls. So we're asking, are passwords required? Is it limited to a certain number of people have access to the system? Is it physically secure? And then is it secure on the internet as well, or on the network as well? All right, so that's all the things that we do for internal controls. So the next thing I wanted to just talk to you about was just what we do to identify the significant audit areas and what that means. And so this correlates to what I mentioned about the risk-based audit. So these areas that we have listed across the top here are what we deem to be the significant audit areas. And that means these are the areas we think are most susceptible to being materially misstated. And you'll notice a lot of those are going to be the larger dollar amounts that show up in your financial statement because they need to be big to be material. And so what we're doing with all these areas is we are testing them substantively, which means we're doing a combination of these three things listed at the bottom. We're either confirming them with a third party, we're testing them analytically. So we're looking not only at current year and prior year and understanding that change, but looking at the relationships between the numbers and how they move and change based on what we know happened throughout the year. And then if we have to, we will do a test of details. That means we're pulling a sample of transactions and looking at all the supporting documentation. Right. Next slide is we're talking about the major programs for the single audit. So these are all the federal and state dollars. The county spends $4.6 million worth of federal program dollars and $1.6 million of state program dollars for fiscal year 21. And so these are the programs that we tested the various 14 compliance requirements for each program that are direct and material. And so we've got Medicaid, the cross-cutting, that is where the county reports every month the administrative dollars related to a lot of the DSS programs. We do a lot of procedures related to that. We tested the CRF, the Coronavirus Relief Program, and we also tested LAHEAP. And then for the state side, we tested the Essential State Family Funds Loan Program and the Public School Building Capital Fund. All right, so the results of the audit, as I mentioned, we issued 4 separate opinions for the county. All 4 opinions are what we call unmodified opinions. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a great opinion, but that is also known as a clean opinion. That is the opinion that you want as board members to be receiving on your financial statements. And so that is the highest level of assurance we can give you as an audit firm that your financial statements are free from the material misstatements that we were looking for throughout our audit, as well as you're operating those federal and state programs in compliance with the requirements. Okay, so internal controls. As I mentioned, we don't issue an opinion on that, but we are required to report to you if we identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And so we kind of break that up into 2 places. So we do a lot, the internal control work over the financial statements, as I mentioned a couple of slides back. No significant deficiencies or material weaknesses were identified as a result of that review over those policies and procedures. And then when it comes to the single audit, there were 3 findings issued related, and they all relate to DSS cross-cutting. 2 fall in the category of material weaknesses, and 1 falls in the category of a significant deficiency. And so there are a lot of details within your financial statement that discuss what those findings are, but I'll give you the high level of it here. For cross-cutting, in our testing, we take a sample of expenditures, and we noticed that the payout of accrued leave for an employee that separated from the county during the year was included in this monthly report called the 1571, and that should not have been included, and it really was just a delay of notification of between finance and DSS that was the case, and so it got included and shouldn't have been. And then the second material weakness that was identified related to the October and September filings of the 1571. When we go in to select months to test, we want all of the backup and supporting documentation that that supports the actual filing of the monthly report. And for those 2 months, the county didn't have those readily available. They actually had to go back and recreate that supporting documentation to support those filings for us to review and test. And so that in itself is an issue. And every time a monthly report gets created, all the supporting documentation should be kept with it. And so we reported that. And then for the significant deficiencies finding, this really, we do a sample of tests of contracts that are related to the DSS programs that are flowed also through that 1571 filing, the monthly filing. And we noticed that one of the contracts that are reported as expenditures was missing some of the required language. And I'll just add that there was some turnover in the DSS department during the year, and I think that really just attributed to all 3 of these findings. They're easy to fix and easy to correct going forward. All right, and then the last thing on this slide is the required communications. Again, this is also covered in a letter that'll come with your financial statements. As far as significant changes in accounting policies, the county did have to implement GASB 84, which is directly related to fiduciary activities. The fiduciary activities of the county were reported previously in what we called agency funds. Some of those remained as agency funds, now called custodial funds, and then some of them were moved within the actual reporting entity of the county and are called special revenue funds. You guys approved budget amendments related to that earlier, before June 30th of this year, so I'm sure you're aware of which funds those were. As far as significant estimates that are included in your financial statements, there is depreciation related to your capital assets based on how long each capital asset is expected to be used. There is an allowance for doubtful account for all your accounts receivable accounts. That's an estimate and the fact that whether they're collectible or not after year end. And then the bigger ones are related to your retirement benefits for your employees. So there's the pension for your law enforcement officers as well as your regular employees, and then there's also the retirement benefits of health and dental, as also known as your other post-employment benefits estimates included in your financial statements. So those are the biggest estimates that are called out in that letter. And then finally, as far as journal entries, I'm happy to tell you that there were no adjusting journal entries proposed as a result of our audit, which means that the county is through all those policies and procedures related to internal controls, it allows the county to properly capture all the financial activity of the county throughout the year. So that's a great result to have. All right, just a couple more results related to the audit. I just wanted to update you on prior year findings that were in your financial statements from last year. There was 2 findings, and I'm happy to let you know that both of those have been corrected in the current year, or even probably prior to the current year, but that we no longer need to report them. So that's great. Again, this year you've got those 3 current year findings, all related to DSS cross-cutting reporting. And then last thing is something new for this year. The LGC, the Local Government Commission, has created these financial indicators of concern. And with that, they created a couple of administrative laws that require me, one, to present to the board, which I was already doing every year, but to also communicate to you if there were any of these indicators of concern that were checked off in a checklist that we're required to report to them. And the only one that is being reported or checked off in that is the fact that your audit is late. It is supposed to be within, the law says, October 31st, 4 months after year end. So that'd be October 31st. Then they give an extra month of grace period. And so that would be 5 months after year end, but we are clearly at a little after 6 months. So what that requires is that you as a board send a letter to them, just giving them some indication of what you plan to do to help the audit be more timely in the future. And you've got 60 days to put that letter together and get it over to them. But that's the only indicator. So I think that's an easy fix, hopefully, for next year, and we can get the audit out on time. Oh, and one important thing to say is that you're in company with some other counties throughout the state. They do have a link on the LGC's website that you can go and see the status of all the filings. So you are not the only county in the state that is late. It's becoming very hard, and resources are hard to find to get it all done. But I just didn't want you to think you were all by yourself on that. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is move through some financial information that I pulled from the report that I thought would be interesting, or at least measure against requirements of the county itself. So first slide I've got here is the general fund. This is just showing you revenues versus expenditures, how the county performed up against what the budget that was set by the board for the year. I did give you a 3-year trend, but I'm only going to give you the numbers and the metrics for 2021. So what you see in the purple columns is the budget. So those are the budgeted revenue numbers. And so for the budget for 2021 was $20.6 million of revenue. The actual is the green bar that you see. And so actual was about 500,000 higher at 21.1 million for the year. And then the black line shows you how the expenditures come through. And so because the expenditure line is below both of those bars, it means the expenditures came in less than revenues, and also were less than budget and less than actual. Sorry. So the expenditures were 20.4 million, which means they beat their own budget by 2 million. And so the county was actually able to add back to fund balance, which is great. And then this slide shows you your unassigned fund balance. So it's not the total general fund balance, but just the unassigned portion. So this is I'm going to call it free game money, but there are some things that the state, dollar amounts the state wants you to have in this category. And so what you'll see is in 2020, you had 11.1, and in 2021, you had 11.6. And basically, that's about 56% of the general fund expenditures in the current year you have available for the next year. And so the state's looking for a minimum of about 16%, which gives you 2 months worth. And they have calculated your fund balance available, which includes a little bit more of the categories than just unassigned, at 50.2. So you are well exceeding what they want to see at a minimum. But I will say, being a county on the eastern side of North Carolina, that's important because of just being able to have some money there available in case of any kind of hurricane or unexpected event such as COVID. That you might need some extra cash to be able to put out before you can get it back from other sources. Okay, and then this is similar information, but just for the utility fund. I just wanted to let you know how the utility fund did, and it did compared to what you had budgeted for the year. You had revenues that came in under budget by about 160,000 for the year. Expenditures were also under budget by 57 or 58,000 for the year. When you did set out the budget, you did appropriate and plan to have revenues less than expenditures by 256,000. So we call that, the appropriation of fund balance. But actually the county only ended up using only 7,000 compared to 256. So I think it performed well. Another metric that seems to be important is your debt covenant compliance. So the bond order requires the debt service coverage to be no less than 110%, and I'm happy to report you guys are at 271, so no worries or concerns there with your debt covenant compliance. All right, so in summary, the county received all 4 opinions were unmodified, no journal entries identified as a result of the audit. There are good internal controls in place. There was no internal control findings for financial statements, just those DSS findings. And then I just wanted to say a big thank you to Kyle and Beverly and anyone else at the county affected by the audit. We do ask for a lot of information, so we just appreciate them giving us what we need and continuing to do that throughout the audit. It can be a painful process, so I just appreciate that. And now I'll be glad to take any questions or comments.
I do have a few comments. I'm very pleased at the audit. I'm very pleased at the performance of our financial staff. I'm very pleased at the outcome of this. If I understood you correct, we pretty much have the highest level of assurance that the county is appropriately handling the finances of the county, and that indeed we did have all 4 of our your calls they were unmodified. I'm very tickled about those 4 unmodified opinions. I'm very tickled that we didn't have any adjusting journal entries, and I'm very tickled that we got the implemented GASB 84 fiduciary activities in place. I'm very pleased with the audit, and I'm very pleased with the job that our employees have done.
When you said the commissioners would be receiving a letter, is that page 1, 2, and 3 of the audit?
No, it will actually be an entirely separate letter from the audit.
What other question, please? You That's what I thought. Excuse me, my mic was off.
That's okay. I was gonna say, if somebody's asking a question, I can't quite hear it.
Okay, one of the things you were saying was we had to write a letter to the LGC explaining about the late audit status. One of the things I know that we have is an auditor for the financials and an audit for the regular audit. Is there something in there that we can improve on as far as reducing the late audit status?
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is there's me, my firm, who does the actual audit, and then there's another firm that, in conjunction with us, drafts the financial statements.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I hate that everybody blames COVID, but it is such a factor, especially in this year. And it, meanwhile, while everybody wasn't out at the same time, they were always out at not the right time to make things work the best that they can. And so I would like to think that in 2022 that all that would be resolved. But the only thing I can say is to we can continue to brainstorm together along with Beverly and Kyle as to what can we move up as earlier as we can. Obviously, we won't have a big implementation next year of a new standard that should impact the financing, the financials as much as GASB 84 did. I would like to think that every year would get better, but if you add in other weird things like COVID, it doesn't seem to be the case. But that's the plan, is to figure out, how much can we move up and just troubleshoot where things fell this year to help speed things and make things faster.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you know when we can expect a final audit bound with corrections
I'd
made?
love to say that you should get that by the end of this week, but with COVID and all, you will definitely have that by the end of this month. But I would hope that it would be the end of this week. All that we are working on now is just little formatting and just with a 150 to 200 page report, you're always going to find a little nitpicky here and there to fix.
Again, I want to reiterate what the chairman, he said, is I do think the financial staff that we have that have made sure that all the information was given to y'all in a proper way, and that Mr. Haven makes sure that the financial staff are on top of whatever we need to do to come out with a report that makes us know exactly where we stand as far as our finances go. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion that we accept this audit?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I know there is a final audit coming
Yes,
with corrections.
yes.
Do we need to add that into the motion or wait till that audit gets here?
I don't think so. We normally don't. We normally have a draft audit, we approve the audit, and then anything then the powers to be peruse the audit, and they're the ones that actually issue the final audit.
Okay, because like I said, I went through the audit and there were some
Yeah,
things that I suggested to Ms. Trail today.
yes.
So that was why I was questioning if we need to put a clause on there with the corrections that are being given to receive the final audit.
April, what you think about that?
Mr. Haven,
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I am giving you what the opinion will be. We have done enough procedures that nothing in those financial statements will change.
Right.
Will change that. And like I said, they're in my opinion, they're immaterial changes that are being made. But I think either
well,
including
that's
that
fine
or-
if the numbers are not going to change.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
County attorney have any concerns about that?
No, I think we're fine either way.
Hearing no further discussion, I have a motion on the floor and a second that we accept the audit as it has been presented tonight. I will call the question. Those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
April.
Thank you, April.
Thank you.
I'm going to sign you off. Have a good night, okay?
You too.
Mr. County Manager.
Bear with me. Okay. Thank you. That was some good information. Thank you to both of our presenters. Have some items for action this evening. Our first being an appointment to the Planning Board. We have 3 vacancies. We have had 2 apply for reappointment and 1 apply for appointment. It was advertised as is recommended. The applicants for appointment was Mr. Donald Beeman, and the applicants for reappointment were Mr. James Davenport and Erwin Sugg.
What's the wish of the board?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Next item for action is appointment to the Board of Adjustments. We advertised as is recommended and preferred. We received only 1 applicant. That applicant is Mr. Leslie Mooring. I would ask for his appointment to the Board of Adjustments.
What's the will of the board?
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion in 2 seconds. Any further discussion?
I hope it's more, we need to argue about this,
All those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Our next item for action is acceptance of a tobacco trust fund grant that has been awarded. Recently, application was made to Tobacco Trust Fund for a grant to renovate the farmer's market. We received a quote from Mr. Joe Hillard. Used that quote in the application. We were awarded partial from the quote in the amount of $56,000. The rules of that grant are attached. Something I thought notable was that the term of the grant is 2 years. Everyone is seeing supply chain issues, so they're even putting it in the grants now. So I would ask for acceptance of this grant award, and we'll do the paperwork as needed.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. David,
Yes.
in your statement, you're saying, "I am in the process of seeing, and this quote will still be honored." Is that a yes?
Yes. Since the time of writing, I have spoken with Mr. Hillard, and he can honor that quote.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Did he give you a time frame that we could get started on this?
He did not. I do know that there's a few things ahead of it in our little list of priorities or our queue, but it will be timely, that is for sure.
Because I knew we had got a handout from the Cooperative Extension. They've got 5 workshops coming up. I know it can't be done, but it's nice that this is what this facility was trying to renovation.
Right, that's gonna
Sure.
help them out tremendously.
Sure.
Instead of going somewhere else and have a meeting, we can have meetings over here.
Right. Thank you, sir.
I will call the question. Those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Next item for your attention is the acceptance of the records retention schedule update from the Department of Cultural and Natural Resources. Every couple years, they send out an updated records retention schedule, and it has been our practice to approve their update. So if there are no questions, I would ask that you approve their update.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And now, since it's on the floor rather, are there any questions or any other comments? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you. Our next item for action is a proposed EMS fee schedule amendment. This fee schedule amendment is designed to maximize payment from insurance and Medicare and not leave money on the table. It is not designed to overcharge. This fee schedule is recommended from Colatin, our third-party billing company, and this is similar to other fee schedules they're having other providers, such as we, implement into their systems.
Question, which are we being asked to approve, the charge, the recommended fee by Colatin, or the proposed fee?
Proposed fee,
Well, I'm just saying your letter said recommended by Colton.
Colatin. You'll
This-
notice,
That is the fee they are recommending, is that right? The proposed fee?
yes, they recommend a fee, but then they also have us put a proposed fee in. I believe the recommended fee is,
Well, I see that now, yeah.
the recommended fee is what we are eligible for, and then the proposed fee is a fee above that in case someone says, we'll give you 80% or something of that nature, so that we don't leave money on the table.
And can we also look at the dates that they have down?
Sure.
I don't know any of us gonna be here in 2999.
There weren't many
A lot of
us
things
here
would
in
have to change.
1900 either.
If you're comfortable accepting their proposal, so be it. If you're not, we'll get some more information from them and have it brought back.
But when I'm looking at it, and I didn't call attention, Mr. Chairman, I apologize.
Yes,
If you divide them into sections, there's 8, that's what I was looking at.
Okay, I was made aware that some of the different things have different charges based on the different descriptions. It is not my field of expertise, and that's why if you're comfortable with it, I ask for approval. If you're not, we'll bring
Well,
it
I'm
back.
just saying it, as Commissioner Burris said, 1, 3, 5, and 7 are the very same thing. Same charges, everything.
Okay.
2, 4, 6, and 8 are the same thing.
Okay,
But why do they list them all if they're all the same?
it's a great question.
They're just duplicate. I mean, I've looked at the charges, I've looked at the codes, and I don't see any difference as I grouped them together,
Okay.
was what I was saying. And you said we're recommending fee by Colatin,
Colatin.
and the proposed fee is,
The proposed fee is what they're asking us to raise our rate to so that we can charge. And if someone gives like an 80% of a fee, that we'll still get that 1035 or that fee. That is my understanding.
ground mileage, is that in county?
I believe there's one listed for in-county and out of county.
There's out of county that's $12,
I
and the
believe there's
in
both.
county's $14.35.
I think that was the recommendation.
Kyle, the main thing that they want to do is not leave any money.
That's,
Well, I don't want to leave any money on the table, but I need somebody that's going to explain this. I mean, it's not very,
Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
I can have Jeremy or Brock.
I may be the only one. Everybody else may understand it,
Can
but
we table this, Mr. Chairman, to the next meeting, let Jeremy come in and explain it? That'd be all right, Kyle?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, I move to table this to the next meeting.
I had a hard time reading that, and the way I was thinking it was read, was one fee, you had Medicaid, other fees you didn't have Medicaid.
is that,
we don't need a motion, just,
Just gonna table?
we're gonna table this to the next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
And get parties here that know what they're talking
All right,
about.
I'd like for him to explain it a little bit more.
Yes,
Perfect.
that's great.
We'll make that arrangement. Okay, lastly, this is not an item for action, but it was something I had come across that I was actually very impressed with. There was a letter written about Greene County's year in review, and I thought, rather than, just leave it where I saw it, I thought I'd print it off and I thought I would include it in our agenda, and I thought I would go through it. I thought it was a very thorough list of some events that took place in the county, and I feel some recognition is worthy to the people who were behind it. So, economic development, Billy Beer Company was purchased by Renbev of Greensboro. NWL was purchased by Cornell Dubilier Electronics, an update to a business incentive policy revision, and that was led by our economic development contractor, Harold Thomas. We joined the GTP Regional Advisory Board. We started Manufacturers Association, and that was led by Mr. Harold Thomas. We had 2 economic development projects. That's the first, to my knowledge, since Billy Beer, and that was Project Hive and Project Exact. And they made significant investment in the county and provided jobs. The GTP region that we are now part of played a big part in that. And Mr. Harold Thomas also started the Transportation Committee. So we move.
If you don't mind, back up to that previous screen.
Sure.
I do want to, the 4th triangle there, have membership on the GTP Regional Advisory Board. That is the GTP Economic Development Regional Advisory Board.
Yes. Yes, the Economic Development Regional Advisory Board.
Yeah. Well, it didn't say economic development, so just that's the reason why I wanted to highlight that it is the Economic Development Advisory Board that we were added on to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wanted to go through facilities. Some accomplishments that were noted was near completion of repairs and renovation to the county complex. That work was done by Mr. Joe Hillard. We've received many compliments. Overhauled the automation system at the Justice Center and installed ERVs. I know the staff there is very pleased with those improvements. We began construction on a storage facility for elections, and that's Mr. Trey Cash. We have approved our outsourcing of custodial services. It just seems to be what's going to work for us, hopefully. We paved parking lots at various facilities. We were able to receive grants in the amount of $325,000 more from Golden Leaf for this facility, the Operations Center. We were able to beautify many properties, and we removed some unkept and damaged trees at various locations. Really has added to our beautification. And we continued installation of touchless bathrooms at facilities. I believe we still have one left for this year, and we'll see if we can't get that in before our fiscal turn. Planning and building inspections, we were able to co-locate like departments, creating a one-stop shop for development. It was led by a strategic development relocation committee. If you recall, we put a committee together and where to put everything. It has worked out very nicely. And then we were also able to update our zoning, subdivision, building code, and flood prevention ordinance as was mandated by Session Law 160D. And that effort was led by Brandon and Scott Sutton. The health department, they had some phone lines increased to help better respond to COVID-19. We also have another improvement to their phone lines coming this fiscal year. We're working through that. And also to note, we were one of the first counties in the state to schedule online vaccine appointments. Some highlights for EM and EMS was we hired a new medical director, Dr. Kitch. We updated our EM ordinance. Mr. Brock Kearney was behind that. We prepared and updated paramedic transition plans. That was Mr. Kearney and Mr. Anderson. We added supervisor and EMS manager positions to our position classification plan to more properly staff the department. We did purchase another ambulance. We prepared pay for the paramedic level service for when we transition to that level of service, so our staff is prepared. And that transition takes place February 1, as far as I'm aware. And we are planning for our first QRV in our EMS department. It's been ordered, not been received. In our recreation department, we placed ATMs at sport facilities to improve user experiences and to keep people, able to watch their children. The recreation facility hosted a track-out program during the pandemic for students, and that initiative was led by Mr. Mike Anderson. If you recall, the schools were running half on, half off, and the students were able to go there for some extra instruction. A new volleyball league had been introduced, and an accomplishment was that we hosted the 9-year-old Babe Ruth Southeast Regional Tournament. A lot of people from a lot of places came to the area. The Sheriff's Department has purchased body cameras for the sheriff and the deputies. The commissioners implemented an 11% salary increase for the department as voted to assist in staff retention and 3 new vehicles had been purchased.
Let me back up and just make one comment on the previous one, not
Yes,
that one,
sir.
but talking about that 9-year-old Babe
Yes.
Ruth Southeast Regional. We had folks here from Florida to Virginia, West Virginia, and all points in between.
That's right, a lot of
We had
folks.
the Wellness Center for their reception there. There was a good crowd at our Wellness Center for that reception. It's a
Thank you.
big event. It was a big event in the overall scheme of things. Excuse me, go ahead.
Yes, sir. In our public information, we updated the county website, and that was led by Mr. Trey Cash. Trey also implemented automated electronic correspondence for the Board of Election. In this facility, we were able to become more ADA compliant with our technologies. And we also created a communication liaison position to lead IT and informational efforts. That's also Mr. Trey Cash. We are really fortunate to have him on our staff. Very versatile young person. The Register of Deeds, we budgeted to have some books rebound in an effort led by Ms. Nancy Murphy. If you recall in the past, we have gone online, which I have heard from several lawyers in surrounding counties, how that is benefiting their practice. So a lot of good things from the Register of Deeds. The animal control, well, initially we had to respond to a potential violation from the Department of Ag based on a complaint, and we used that opportunity to improve the department records and reporting standards. We also purchased a vehicle, another truck. Finance has been very busy. They modernized AP to authorize electronic payments, and Ms. Stroud, our finance guru, was behind that. We've revised some county policies like purchasing and travel, and that was also spearheaded by Beverly. She created a monthly financial report for your review. If you recall, what you had was a little more inconsistent. What she's given you is second meeting of the month. And then also we accomplished removal from the unit assistance list, and that was an effort led by Beverly. And I'll be honest, it was bought into by all who contribute financial information to the audit process. A lot of people worked towards that, and Beverly really led that charge. The Senior Center, again, was recognized as a Senior Center of Excellence. It's been recognized consecutively since 2010. So Sharon's doing a lot of good work over there. Public Works, we added the Arba water system to our system, and David did a lot of hard work for us behind that. Also had a lot of input from our engineers. If you recall, we purchased a new excavator in the landfill department. We awarded a contract for the SCADA project. Okay, that's supervisory control and data acquisition. And then we also purchased new landfill equipment at the Browntown convenience site. The transportation department was busy. If you recall, an update was performed for the non-emergency Medicaid transportation contracts, and that was Miss Misty Chase. We added some needed positions because this is a growing department, and we transitioned to a new facility at the Greene County Operations Center here. A lot of patience in that group. They're happy to be here, though. Tax completed a revaluation. That is a total team effort. That is that's a bear, and they all really contributed in that. And as a result, the Board of Equalization and Review hearings, Ms. Becky Sutton led those, and then on her way out, we did hire a new tax administrator, Ms. Stephanie Wiggins. DSS hired a new director, Ms. Amanda Smith. We are working to staff that department more adequately. They have improved their reporting for board members. They have an updated plan of action for future disasters, and they are working to continue to update their internal policies. So it's a department that's renewing itself. Cooperative Extension also hired a new director, Ms. Jessica Anderson. I believe she's in attendance. And as we just approved and you accepted, we're awarded a Tobacco Trust Fund grant to renovate the farmers market, and that was led by Ms. Chenille Ford, and it's now being carried forward by Ms. Jessica Anderson. In general government, nothing really too exciting. A 3% COLA was accepted by the commissioners and has been budgeted for in this fiscal year. We've been working to update policies and forms as directed by the Board of Commissioners. If you recall, premium pay plan was created and implemented. Ms. Beverly Stroud really spearheaded that initiative, and we are awaiting our ordinance updates. It's from American Legal Publishing. That has been going on for quite some time, but we're under the guidance of Ms. Gay Stanley on that. Just a lot of good things, a lot of updates, it's a lot of good stuff that I see. So I just wanted to, like I said, jump on that article that I had read, and I wanted to make sure that we gave the credit to the people who were performing the effort in the county. These great things wouldn't take place without that hard work and that effort. Thank you.
We do indeed have a great appreciation for our employees. They've worked hard, and it shows.
Absolutely.
We're doing things now proactively rather than reactively in a lot of situations, and that's a very positive trend going forward. Madam County Attorney, do you have any comments for the board? Okay. Commissioner reports and recommendations. I'm just going to say that we did not get a new COVID update today. Yesterday was a holiday. I'm sure they're busy. But I will highlight the fact that last Thursday, the number that came out, we have 485 active cases in Greene County. That's the highest it's been. It has just totally blossomed in Greene County and surrounding areas, states. But and I do believe that COVID had a lot to do with how long it took to get our audit done. And that being the case, I don't know how we can promise the LGC that we're not going to have COVID next year, because I think COVID has been part of our reason for being late, significant part. Other commissioner reports and recommendations.
I got some. Mr. Chairman, I do not believe I've ever acknowledged you before speaking. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Those of you who don't follow me on social media, you may not be aware that the year in review the county manager presented is basically an updated list that I created on December 31st. I want to apologize to any department that I may have left out and any accomplishment that I have overlooked. I created that list using the past meeting minutes and from emails that I had saved, so I'm sure I missed something. Whether your department had a lot accomplished or very little, I'm equally proud of each of our departments and look forward to making an even longer list of accomplishments next year. I also want to take a minute and say thank you to our friends at the North Carolina Department of Transportation for keeping our roads safe this past weekend, as well as our first responders and law enforcement officers that had to work during the storm. If you're one of those individuals that was hoping that we would see some snow, there's a chance we may get some Friday and Saturday. Whether we get snow or ice, I want to encourage you to take the time to make sure you and your family are prepared for whatever the next storm may bring. Our county's emergency management Facebook page usually has some great tips on how to stay prepared, so be sure to check that out. Being stuck at home this past weekend, I noticed a familiar group of football players on television. Jalen Wynn, a student athlete at Greene Central, was featured making a tackle on the NFL Network. Thanks to his and his teammates' appearance on national television, Greene Central was receiving $1,500 for athletic equipment. As most of you are aware, the month of January is famous for its Hot Stove Banquet. Last week, 4 individuals with Greene County ties were inducted into the George Westfield Sports Hall of Fame during their annual Hot Stove Banquet. 2 were Greene County natives, Dr. Burt Bright and Matt Beeman, were inducted along with former Snow Hill American Legion assistant coach Jim Montague and Jason Mills. With all these sports achievements, as well as kids on stage bringing home awards from Atlanta and the middle school chorus team having several members make All-State, we have a lot to be proud of here in Greene County. Moving into county business, I attended a meeting hosted by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners this past week, where they went over the basics involved in the national opioid settlement. There will be 2 more meetings. The next one is scheduled for January 24th at 3 o'clock. While there was not a lot of new information presented, One of the figures that caught my attention was the amount each county was expected to receive during the next 18 years. According to that slide report, Greene County is expected to receive $794,157. That, at the time of that meeting, there was 97 counties and 45 municipalities that had signed the agreement. But I saw on the news this week where the Attorney General has announced all 100 counties have signed it. Also, if you read your emails, you may have seen where the U.S. Treasurer issues the final ruling on ARP State Fund and Local Physical Recovery Fund on January 6th, which will go in effect on April 1st, 2022. With so many changes, including changes to broadband occurring since the retreat, I would like for the staff to give us an update on those changes so that we will all be on the same page. I also want to remind those in the audience and those watching from home that the county has 17 jobs posted on their website and Facebook page. If you're looking for a rewarding career with great benefits and know someone is, please send them to the county webpage and apply. If you recall from my comments on November the 15th, I requested that the county manager give us a more detailed presentation on the county's sick leave policy, as well as the number of county employees that was negatively impacted by COVID-19 quarantine restrictions since December of 2020. I understand that the staff had a meeting to discuss this topic, but I have not received an update on it. I am again going to request that the board be provided with an update on this issue. Furthermore, I have noticed where several other counties have recently voted to temporarily extend the sick leave policy. Brunswick County is one of those counties. With the rising number of cases and with the majority of our employees being vaccinated, I feel it is good government to look into ways to protect our employees' health and not penalize them with mandated government restrictions that are beyond their control. Again, I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I want to ask a question, Mr. Haven. On our financial statement, can we add a column for ARP funds? So that we can keep a total of what we received and how much has been spent on each item? And do you have any new regulations from the final report that had changed from what we thought we could do before, or?
There have been significant changes from that final rule. We are attending ARP office hours is what they call them, where Ms. Caramelanzi gives us instruction on what we can and can't do with the funds. We have another one this Friday at noon, I believe. So whether we're here or not, we can watch it wherever we are, giving us guidance on what we can and can't do.
Can you give us an update email so that the commissioners will know what we can
Sure.
and cannot do
Yes.
with the ARP funds?
Yeah.
And I noticed that we moved some COVID or CARES Act money over to ARP, and that's still going to be separated, or are we slushing it together?
No. I believe there was a budget amendment done to correct something that was recorded, taken in as a revenue incorrectly.
Okay.
And that budget amendment was done to just correct things.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Hearing none, do I have a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously. We are back in regular session. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion?
Be safe this weekend.
Be safe, be careful out there. We're going to likely have some type of precipitation that is likely going to be frozen in some form. Be careful. All those in favor of the motion signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The motion is carried unanimously. Y'all be careful.
Has anybody ever opposed adjournment?
He just did.